Pretty much everything you need to know about taming and using a Dinopithecus in ARK Survival Evolved. Dinopithecus can only be located within the central portion of the ARK Lost Island DLC map. They can spawn as either adults or babies in the wild, with the juvenile versions riding around on the adults like little tractors. Using an S+ tech transmitter, I was able to scan and locate all of the current Dinopithecus spawns on the map, so you can use these rough coordinates if you'd like. Dinopithecus are pack-based creatures and follow the command of an alpha monka, so you'll typically find them in groups of 2 or more. Even though they have impressive climbing abilities, the wild variants of the creatures seem to prefer walking around on the forest floors instead of hanging out in the tree lines. Using a tech helmet's visor abilities can be super helpful for locating them in the thick jungles, but isn't necessary for finding and taming them. You can also use the Bloodstalker's spider vision, however it will only highlight the juvenile Dinopithecus and not the full-grown ones. If you're still having trouble locating them, just listen for the distant sound of fecal matter slapping the side of a tree and Neanderthal moans of approval to bag yourself an ass monkey! Oh man, it's gonna be hard not staring at that thing throughout the entire tutorial.
I will f*** you, alright? I will enter you!
Alright, so how do you go about taming one of these background extras from Tarzan, you might ask? Well, the Dinopithecus is a passive tame that must be non-violently fed its favorite food at certain intervals. Their food must be placed on the last slot of your hotbar like you would do for any other passive tame in the game, otherwise you won't see the prompt to feed it once you're close enough. The Dinopithecus's top 3 foods are exceptional kibble, raw mutton, and raw prime. Keep in mind that only the pack leader is tameable, meaning that all of the other nearby Dinopithecus must be killed before you can begin the taming process. Bolos unfortunately don't work to immobilize them, so I'd recommend using something like a compound bow or pump shotgun to kill all of the betas from a distance. Despite having the ability to easily scale trees, Dinopithecus won't pursue you up them, meaning that you can use a crossbow and grappling hook to stay out of reach and easily take out the non-alphas in a group. Once all of the other Dinopithecus are killed, you'll need to carefully damage the alpha below 85% health in order to see the prompt to feed it and begin the taming process. Once it has been damaged enough, it will lose interest in you and begin to passively walk around, at which point you can approach it and feed it by pressing the E key. There's a cooldown between feedings like any other passive tame, so be patient and stay close to it as it wanders around between feedings. You can use the taming tracking system to make following the Dinopithecus a lot easier. Simply open up your inventory and navigate to the little dino print icon at the top of your screen. From here, click on the Dinopithecus you fed to enable the in-game tracking of it. Simply repeat this process of feeding the Dinopithecus' favorite food at set intervals until the taming process is complete. As a quick side note, the wiki page suggested that you should damage the Dinopithecus as low as possible before you feed it, because it will passively heal over time and could interrupt the taming process, but this is just simply not true. To prove this, I barely damaged the alpha to just below the 85% health mark and let it consume nearby corpses to heal up to full. I was still able to feed it like normal after this point, meaning that you only need to damage it below the 85% health mark to begin the taming process and not to actually finish it. Now usually at this point in the video I'd recommend some kind of trap to make the taming process easier, but bolos won't work, bear traps are clunky, and the damn monkeys always seem to slip right out of tents, so honestly I would just recommend taming this thing on the go. If you are interested in a taming trap, Captain Fat Dog created a build that is super simple and resource friendly. I'll put a link to his video in the description down below so you can check it out if you'd like. The Dinopithecus will eat raw meat as a food source from here on out. The Dinopithecus doesn't require a saddle in order to ride, but can equip helmets for extra armor. Alright, so let's dive into the controls and functionality of the Dinopithecus to showcase some of what it can do. Given their pack-based functionality, the Dinopithecus will only reach their full potential when used in a group of 2 or more other baboons. Pressing the left mouse button will perform a bite/swipe attack that does moderate damage. This can also be used to pick up feces that's lying on the ground. Pressing the right mouse button will perform a ground slam ability that hits up to 5 targets within a 10-meter range for moderate damage. Unfortunately, this attack is interruptible if you're hit during the animation of it. Pressing the spacebar will perform a rather quick vertical jump. Pressing it again while in the air will engage climbing mode, allowing you to easily scale vertical surfaces such as cliffs, trees, or structures. Holding the X key will enter poop throwing mode, allowing you to throw either feces, grenades, or infested grenades at the target with the left mouse button. Pressing the control key will cycle between the 3 available types of ammunition to use during poop throwing mode. And finally, pressing the C key while riding the alpha of the pack will perform a battle cry, causing the other Dinopithecus in your pack to target the enemy that you're looking at and augment their primary attack to include a bleed effect. The Dinopithecus feature climbing mechanics very similar to the Thylacoleo, allowing them to easily traverse vertical walls, trees, or steep cliff sides. Fair warning, it's a little bit janky at times. In addition to this, they feature some fairly fast base movement speeds and can easily outpace a lot of the other land creatures in the game. Dinopithecus are also capable of using zip lines, similar to the Ravagers introduced with Aberration. The Dinopithecus' poop-flinging abilities are actually quite useful in PvP scenarios.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Their feces can be used to slow enemy players who might be pushing aggressively or trying to escape. Grenades can be thrown much farther and with much more accuracy when using a Dinopithecus, making them a convenient tame to have during raids. The grenades will stick to whatever surface they're thrown at and won't bounce or recoil backwards, meaning that the grenades are actually far more reliable and have sustainable DPS compared to throwing them by hand. In addition to this, their infested grenades will disrupt tech equipment, meaning that you can disable enemy tech suits if they're affected by the blast radius. Infested grenades don't seem to have an impact on tech-based structures such as generators or turrets, however. The Dinopithecus' battle cry will modify unridden pack members' primary attacks to deal less damage per bite, but provide a 10% chance of applying a bleed effect for 30 seconds. This bleed effect will deal 10% of the target's health over a 15-second period, ignoring armor and innate resistances. This bleed effect can be extremely powerful against creatures with a large amount of health, as it deals a percentage of their total health rather than a static number. This bleed effect can be stacked with the Dinonychus' bleed, however it doesn't stack with other bleed effects in the game. Please note that bosses are unaffected by this bleed. While Dinopithecus are pack-based creatures, they don't seem to gain any sort of a pack bonus when near other ones, outside of the pack leader's buff that allows them access to the battlecry ability. As aforementioned, Dinopithecus cannot be saddled but can instead be provided with helmets for increased protection. In many cases, this will provide them with significantly more armor compared to other creatures, however the helmet's durability will decrease as it takes damage.
I never broke the law! I am the law!
Dinopithecus don't pull aggro from many of the smaller creatures in the game, meaning that they can mostly sneak by undetected. When coupled with their ability to climb on vertical surfaces, they can make for an excellent cave splunking creature that can be used to quickly and efficiently loot cave artifacts and loot crates. Alright, so with all these controls and functionality in mind, what is the Dinopithecus' main use? Aside from giving me horrible flashbacks of that movie Congo. Oh god, those animatronic monkeys still freak me the f*** out. Well, given the Dinopithecus' base movement speed, climbing mechanics, pack-based bleed effects, and poo-poo kung fu abilities, I would categorize them as either travel mounts or PvP mounts. If a travel mount is what you're looking for, you want to invest mainly into stamina and movement speed, with optional point investment into health and weight. The Dinopithecus is capable of outmaneuvering many of the other land-based creatures in the game with its high base movement speed, climbing mechanics, and ability to use zip lines. When coupled with their ability to ignore aggro from many of the smaller aggressive creatures in the game and no fall damage, they quickly become a must-have mount when exploring the open environment and splunking inside of caves. If a PvP mount is what you're looking for, you want to invest mainly into health, stamina, and melee damage, with optional point investment into weight if you're going to be riding it. The Dinopithecus' pack-based gameplay can result in some very high DPS output in PvP situations, especially with a dedicated player using the battlecry ability. The bleed effect applied by unridden Dinopithecus can easily chew through enemy tames, as the damage becomes percentage-based instead of static numbers. When coupled with their ability to wear high armor value helmets and lethal poop-throwing abilities, the Dinopithecus can be an extremely valuable tame to have on your side during offensive or defensive tactics. Alright, well that about wraps up this video. Thank you so much for watching! If you enjoyed, please be sure to leave this video a like down below, subscribe to the channel with notifications on to stay up to date on all of my latest content, join the Discord for a community of like-minded woodland creatures, and please keep leaving me comments because they warm my little Bonahart. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next video.